Hey folks, this is Dave Sundstrom, and welcome to another edition of Creator Conversations. Today, I've got a special guest, Scott from Gen X Memories. Folks know him as Big Friendly. Can I ask you, what's the deal with the nickname Big Friendly, Scott?
It goes back to around the turn of the century. I started working, I got my CDLs, and my first job driving a big truck was I was working for a Budweiser distributor, basically selling beer, going to stores. And one of my managers, you get chummy with the guys after you work there for a while, hang out, be buddies. And he just, one day, he said, "Man, you're always happy and in a good mood." It started out as friendly, but then they evolved to big friendly because I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'4", and I need to lose a lot of weight these days. But that's how it happened. And it just, it's stuck. And I don't see a lot of those guys, but if I ever do, first, hey, it's friendly. We'll just talk. Right. That's how it got started. And I just decided to put it on my channel. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's great. For the almost 30 years I worked with a financial services firm, because there were so many Daves in the office, I got called Sonny. And I was told that was for basically the same reason, my sunny personality, my sunny disposition. So I can totally relate to that. I think it's a great nickname. So you've got this really awesome YouTube channel called Gen X Memories. And when I went and visited it the first time, I was just blown away with what you're doing over there. It's really good work. It's really entertaining stuff. As a matter of fact, your latest video on Mega Mania is really fun. It's one of my favorite video games. More on that in a little bit. But what I always ask folks that are willing to jump on the horn with me here and record a video is, tell me your origin story, how your YouTube channel came to be. I'd love to hear that, Scott.
Okay, I've been a YouTube junkie forever. I love YouTube. I've been watching it almost since it started 20 years ago, and I love it. And in the last 5-10 years, I had tried to make a few channels, reviewing products off Amazon, doing stuff like that, but I could never stick with it. And I think a lot of it was just because I didn't have any passion for what I was doing. I would get bored and I couldn't stick with it. And it was in January, February of last year. I don't know what triggered it, but I decided I'm going to start one, and I'm going to do it on retro stuff. Initially, when I started the channel, I was thinking movies and video games, stuff like that. I was a little nervous because I'll be honest with you, when you get on YouTube, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It seems like it's saturated. There's tons of people all doing the same stuff. Right. So I didn't know how it would work out. But I just said, I've got nothing to lose but time. It doesn't really cost any money to do it. And honestly, I had an injury in 2018. I told you earlier, I used to drive a truck in some shape, form, or fashion, made a decent living. I fell off my truck in February of 2018, and I just shattered my ankle, ended up having to have multiple surgeries. And so I can't drive a truck no more. So I ended up getting a job. Basically, I run an eBay side hustle for a guy. And he has tons of stuff, and I just list it and sell it. But it doesn't pay me about half what I used to. So money's always tight. And I'm thinking, maybe I can make some money on YouTube. But like I say, I mean, there's people that already have a bunch of retro gaming stuff on there. So you just do the best you can. Try to make your stuff stand out and be different. And I think also you have to remember that a lot of times people, and I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I think people, it's just like you. I think people like your stuff, but they like you. They like the way you do the presentation, the way you do everything. So I think if you can find a niche and you just have passion for it and try to put some work into your videos and make them look decent, I think you can eventually build an audience. It's a grind. Like I say, I don't mind making the videos. It feels really good when you upload one, when you're finished, and to see it. Now, it does suck whenever you do it and you don't get as many views as you hope for, when you're starting out. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody knows how YouTube works. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody knows algorithm. You've all these people, I'll sell you this program, but no, nobody knows.
Yeah, don't trust them.
Nope. So you just get in there and do the best you can.
You actually gave the secret sauce to YouTube right there, Scott, which is, one, be passionate about whatever the topic is you choose, because it is work. It's a grind. And if you're not passionate about it, how do you keep going? Yeah. And two, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're not a likable person, if people can't identify with what you're talking about, and then that's going to be a struggle as well. So if you can do those two things, find a niche you're passionate about, and then, come across as friendly on screen. Hey, I love that nickname again. Then you're halfway there. And then extreme patience is probably the other ingredient, because to your point on not really understanding the algorithm, we've all been there as content creators where we've made a video that we loved. It's like a little baby we're putting out there in the world, and we have the greatest of hopes and aspirations for that video. And then sometimes you look at the analytics, and of your last 10 videos, it's number 10, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But if you still love the video, then you say, give it some time. Folks will find it, and folks will appreciate it. And if all else fails, I still like watching it myself anyway.
I've been guilty of this. I'll give you two scenarios. Early on, I don't know why, but it seemed like, maybe because my channel was new, it seemed like YouTube would just fling it out to everybody. And like my third or fourth video got over 10,000 views, and I was like, holy smokes. And that one video got me 100 and something subscribers and lots of comments for engagement. And I was thinking, man, I've got it made. But I was so scared of my next one not being as good, I stalled for 2 weeks because I was terrified that it wouldn't be as good. And the next few just did okay, not as good, but you can't do that. You can't be afraid. You just got to get after it and just grind it out. And like you just said, don't worry about it. It just happens. Everybody goes through the same thing. But if you like what you're doing, just keep doing it. Just keep at it.
Exactly. All right. So your channel, it does focus on retro, all sorts of retro stuff, Gen X memories, but it does feel like a lot of your videos are about nostalgic video games.
Yeah. When I first started, I wanted it to be more than that. And the way you could make stuff about video games forever, there's so much out there. But eventually, maybe when my channel is fully monetized, because I'm halfway there, I will maybe branch off and try some different stuff. But I'm just going to stick with what's working right now and just build up my hours and get it past that point.
And I think you should. I think there's a value in finding that sliver of a niche or a niche that works for you and that you really enjoy making videos about. So that was a lead into this question. Share a favorite video game memory that you have from when you were a kid.
I'll tell you this. I had in 1982, my parents shocked me. They absolutely shocked me. They got me a ColecoVision, which I wanted, but they had pretty much told me, no, you got an Atari last Christmas. You're not getting a ColecoVision. And I saw the commercial on TV for the ColecoVision probably in the summertime before Christmas. And when I saw the Donkey Kong game, which was packed with it, that was it. Everybody wanted to play Donkey Kong, and it came with the ColecoVision. It was the packed-in game. And I saw it had the elevator screen. I was like, oh, man. And I wanted one. But I didn't think I was going to get one, and they got me one. And they surprised me, and they got me the Atari adapter so I could still play Atari games. And it's a long story. But you watch A Christmas Story every year, Ralphie with his BB gun. Well, that ColecoVision was my Ralphie moment, so to speak. It was the best Christmas I ever had. It was amazing. And I'll tell you something else that was funny. And I know we can't go on about this forever, but okay, what was so cool was the neighbors, they got an Atari 5200 for Christmas.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
And that was the one that came after the 2600. That was Atari's next machine.
Yeah.
And anyway, but you didn't get Donkey Kong with 5200. The kids next door, we grew up together and we were good friends, but man, they were so lucky. They were the kind of family that always had the latest. They had a Betamax in 1980 when they moved there. This thing was about this, it was this wide. I bet it weighed 50 pounds, but hey, they could record the Dukes of Hazzard and we could watch it. And so they had a big screen TV. It sucked because back in those days, there was projection jobs in the daytime. You couldn't see them, but at night it looked great. But anyway, I'll never forget when they came over, the older one was like, you got a ColecoVision? Because you couldn't find them. You couldn't find them. My parents went through hell and high water trying to find the thing. They closed down their office during business hours when they finally found out where one was and went and got it. And so it wasn't easy to find them that Christmas. But anyway, that was just a blast.
Yeah. Let's go to next memory. What is your favorite home video game of all time? And you can change your mind tomorrow, by the way.
And I thought about this before we started. You got stuff when the internet came along where you could play against other people and stuff like that. And that was when I was in my 20s by the time that happened. But man, home video game, I guess I'll say Donkey Kong. Everybody wanted that game.
Oh, yeah.
And the version on the 2600 looked terrible. It only had
Right.
2 screens. The other one had 3 screens, elevators. It looked way better.
So let's transition to, I'm sure you spent some time in the arcades, as
Sure.
I did growing up. What was your favorite arcade game?
Okay, I made a video about this. It was called My 5 Favorite Arcade Games when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the first one, okay, the mall and where I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, it was called Eastdale Mall. It opened in 1977. They had an Aladdin's Castle arcade in there. I don't know if you remember that one. It was a chain, arcade chain.
Yeah,
But,
I think I do remember it.
okay, I was only 7, but the only most video games I had seen were the 2 cabinets at the and they had 2 of them back in the corner. That was the only time I'd ever seen them. So you go in there, they got just 2 rows of them. And anyway, there was this game that you played. It didn't even have computer graphics. So it was like, I looked it up. It was made in 73. And on my video, there was a guy that had a copy. He has the thing at his house. And he let me use his video. And he even sent me photographs of it. He's only, and it's a flying ace game. And all of this is a picture that scrolls down. And you're holding the bar down, and there's a joystick. All it does is maneuver the picture around.
I remember that game, Scott.
And if you shot down enough flames, you got this little coin token that popped out of the bottom. It said Flying Ace on it and everything. And I was having a bunch of those. I remember it was so strange. I was like maybe 7, 8 years old. And I remember all these older kids just standing behind me like, how's he doing that? After that, Space Invaders arcade, man, I could not stop thinking about that game. I was so obsessed. Then Galaxian. And then Donkey Kong, and then Cubert. And that was on the video. But after Cubert, when Dragon's Lair came along, that was a big deal back then.
It was done by Don Bluth.
He did the animation for the game. That's right. It was one of the first games that cost, they were doing tokens by then, but it was 2 tokens, 50 cents. That was a big deal back then. But that thing was a token hog. But I ended up beating it. It took me a while, but I had to cut a lot of lawns.
It's amazing how many people would be lined up to watch.
Oh, yeah. They had I remember when it came to Aladdin's Castle, they had a big monitor on top of the cabinet. Because so many people would be standing around watching so everybody could see what was going on. I'll never forget. That was in 1983.
Okay, so we've covered home video games and arcade games. I also asked you to share a few commercials. I gathered 2 myself. So you've got 2, I've got 2. Let me play my first one. I'll share memories. You can share any memories you have of it. And we'll keep moving on. You ready?
Sure.
Attention shoppers, the new Atari cartridge game is in.
Excuse me.
George again. Atari's AFC battle.
It comes with 27 games, but that's just for starters. You can get 9 cartridges, 187 games.
Blackjack.
Oh!
I'd like an Atari.
Sorry, only our demonstrators left. No, George. Mine.
The new video computer system by Atari. More games, more fun.
Yeah, I remember watching.
That was when it first came out. They had 9 games when it was launched.
Right.
9 games.
Chuck McCann is the guy that's not the sales clerk, but the other guy. And Chuck McCann, by the way, was on a show with Bob Denver called Far Out Space Nuts. I don't know if
I
you
never heard of that one. I know Bob Denver.
Yeah, Croft Saturday morning TV show about 2 guys lost in space. Fun, nutty. But that commercial, when I saw it, I was blown away.
When the Atari first came out in 1977, it wasn't really a big seller. They were selling some, but they weren't just flying off the shelves. That didn't happen until 1981 when Space Invaders came out. When Atari got the rights to that game, that's when it went from a novelty item that some people would be willing to pay $150 or $60 for in 1970s money to something that everybody was going to get. I'm going to get that so I can play Space Invaders at home. And that's what caused it to explode.
And Space Invaders wasn't a bad adaptation. It played like the game, but it didn't look a lot like the game. Unlike some of the other games, their version of Pac-Man was just horrible.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to get too technical, but a lot of those games that when they first came out, they only had 2 kilobytes of ROM. That's it. Now, the ones by the time Space Invaders came along, they had 4. But that's all it was.
Yeah. There's some now. They went to 8 and 16, I believe, as well.
I think Asteroids was the first one they did 8, but everybody got mad because they cheapskated Pac-Man, and they only went 4, and they rushed it. They would always try to make a deadline, and they would end up shooting themselves in the foot. The same thing when E.T., they were their own worst enemy. Warner just wrecked it when they got a hold of it. They didn't understand how to do things. They wrecked it.
Scott, this one's yours. Let's play the commercial, and then I'll let you share your memories associated with it.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry, surrounded by giant scorpions and man-eating crocodiles.
Well, Harry and I just grabbed the van, swung through the trees, and over the tar pits and found the jungle treasure. It was really neat.
If you haven't met Pitfall Harry, you're missing the year's most incredible video game adventure. Pitfall for the Atari 2600 and Intellivision.
Since I met Pitfall Harry, no other man will do.
Pitfall, designed by David Crane for Activision.
Most people, even people who are not experts, may know that was Jack Black at the beginning of that commercial.
Yeah.
But he was skinny.
Very young Jack Black. I think it might have been his first TV commercial.
I think so. That game was released in 82, so I'm assuming it had to be around the same time.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the memory associated with that one?
We got that game. It was one that everybody wanted to have back in the day. Everybody knows about Pitfall. Even people who never really were that big into video games remember playing Pitfall that are our age back in the early 80s. And I wanted it, and my mom got it for me from Gaylord's department store. They were sold out of them, so she put it on layaway, and we just had to wait till they got more in. And we took it home, and my older brother and the three neighbor kids from next door, 2 brothers and an older sister, we all piled around the TV and played Pitfall for hours and hours. I never did finish that game, though, but I made a video on my channel where I did. An old friend of mine who would support me, he doesn't get into the games, but he would watch my stuff. He said, man, why don't you do it? Man, there's been so many videos about it. What would I say? And I thought, why don't I do a perfect run? That's where you go through and don't make a mistake. And you get all 32 treasures, and 115,000 is the perfect score. And when I set out to do that, Dave, I had no idea how long it was going to take me. It was ridiculous, man. I'd be 30 minutes or 20 minutes in and bump something, hit the reset button. I finally did it, and I recorded it, and it's on my channel. I did a whole video about it.
How long did it take you to do it? How many days of recording for you to get that perfect run?
Oh, man, it took me probably 2 or 3 weeks. Wow. And I would just play it whenever I had time, but it was hours and hours because in fact, I think it's 20 or 30 minutes when you start the game. You have to finish it before the clock runs out,
right.
You know? And it ain't easy. And the people who did it back in the early 80s without having the internet and everything we have access to now, they were amazing. That would have been hard to do, but I did it for the first time 40 plus years later, and I got a video about it.
Nicely done. All right, I have the next commercial. Let me go ahead and play it, and I'll share the significance.
Activision presents Mega Mania, a new video game for your Atari video computer system. 1, 2, 3, 4, Mega! Mega Mania! Mega Mania! It's gonna drive you insane. You got to sit to survive and you got to run to stay alive. Never gonna let you alone. Mega Mania is a video nightmare because it's impossible to stop. Designed by Steve Cartwright. Mega Mania! For Activision.
If I'm not mistaken, your latest video over on your channel is on Mega Mania. I watched that the other day. Yeah. Special memories for me. Loved the game, first off. It was one of my favorite Atari games. I love the shooters. And this one was just a nice variety of all sorts of different things. And the gameplay was mixed up really well. And here's what I didn't know at the time. I think I found this out in the late 80s. I was a huge fan of a band called The Tubes. This is a band that had some hits called Talk to You Later and She's a Beauty in the 80s. And that band in that commercial, that's The Tubes. I did not recognize them at the time, but years later, I figured it out. All right, I got one more from you. This is a commercial I saw years ago and did not recognize this morning. That one as well.
I think I know what you're going to show me.
Solar Fox! There are like millions of them, Solar Fox! Like, what are we gonna do?
Don't worry. Solar Fox, the new video game where speed and strategy are all you have to fly through 26 changing solar fields. And if you're really fast,
Awesome!
you'll skip ahead to even tougher fields.
Really cool!
Solar Fox from CBS Electronics,
But can I drive now?
where the excitement never ends.
All right, Scott, what's the deal with that one?
When I was doing research on that game, making a video about it, I ended up finding out that's Jane Krokowski. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think so.
She's been if you look her up, she's been in tons of stuff since the 80s. But the thing that blew me away, and I never made the connection, was she was Cousin Eddie's daughter on National Lampoon's Vacation, one with Christy Brinkley and all that. She was, and I was like floored when I saw that. And she also played on that 30 Rock show, I think for most of its run.
Yes.
It was on for 6-7 years maybe. And she was on there, but she's done tons of stuff over the years. But anyway, I was totally blown away. She played that Valley Girl thing so good in that commercial.
Yeah, she's a recurring character in Ally McBeal as well. Yeah, she's just a really well-known actress, and clearly this is one of her earliest TV commercials.
I wonder what she got paid to do that. That'd be so cool to know.
Yeah. That's it as far as commercials go. Scott, it has been so much fun visiting with you and having you share a few memories with me, talking about your channel. Folks, Gen X Memories is a channel that if you're not subscribed to, you got to. Go check it out. You got a teaser for an upcoming video?
I'm hoping to have it done tomorrow night to release, but my next one is going to be going over, there was 3 pinball games that came out for the Atari 2600, and I'm going to be going over all 3 of those games.
Wow. Cool. Cool. That will be awesome. I can't wait to see. Now, I'm familiar with Atari pinball.
The video pinballs.
I'm interested in seeing your other ones, the other ones you highlight as well. Anyway, it's been super great. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, Scott.
Thank you.
You are special.
Click on that thumbnail, cause it's time to go. Dave's got the classics, let the memories flow. TV shows and movies that we all hold so dear. On his YouTube channel, he's keeping memories near. Dave Sundstrom, bringing back the good stuff, oh yeah.